Some people are remembered for their success. Some are remembered for their power. But only a few are remembered for changing the soul of a nation. Today, we are talking about a man who lost 27 years of his life in prison, yet came out stronger, wiser, and full of forgiveness. A man who could have chosen revenge, but instead chose peace. A man who turned pain into purpose and suffering into freedom for millions of people. His name is Nelson Mandela. He was not born into luxury. He was born in a small village in South Africa where life was simple, but injustice was everywhere. From a young age, he saw something painful. People were not treated equally. Because of the color of their skin, millions were denied freedom, education, opportunity, and dignity. This system was called apartheid. It was not just unfair, it was cruel. And young Nelson Mandela could not accept it. He studied law. He became a lawyer. But more than that, he became a voice for those who had none. He joined the struggle against racial injustice. He stood beside people who were tired of fear, tired of silence, tired of living as strangers in their own land. But fighting injustice comes with a price. The government saw him as a threat. They watched him, they followed him, and eventually they arrested him. He was sentenced to life in prison. Life. Imagine that, not for stealing, not for violence against innocent people, but for fighting for equality, for freedom, for justice. He was sent to Robben Island, a place known for pain, a cold prison cell, hard labor every day, very little food, almost no contact with family. Years passed, then more years passed. 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 27 years. Most people would break. Most people would become bitter. Most people would lose hope. But not Nelson Mandela. Even inside prison, he remained free in his mind. He read, he learned, he reflected. He strengthened his spirit. He understood something powerful. They could lock his body, but they could not imprison his purpose. And while he sat behind bars, the world outside was changing. People across the globe began speaking his name. Students protested. Leaders demanded justice. The world was watching, and slowly pressure grew. Finally, after 27 long years, the prison gates opened. Nelson Mandela walked free. The world expected anger. They expected revenge. They expected war. But instead, he chose peace. He chose forgiveness. He said, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies." That wisdom changed history. Instead of dividing the nation, he united it. Instead of revenge, he chose reconciliation. Instead of hatred, he chose healing. In 1994, South Africa held its first democratic election, and the man who once sat in a prison cell became the president, President Nelson Mandela. The same system that tried to silence him now watched him lead a nation. But power did not change him. He stayed humble. He stayed focused. He stayed human. He reminded the world, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. He showed us that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the victory over it. He proved that true leadership is not about controlling people, it is about serving them. And perhaps most importantly, he taught us that forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength, real strength. Because revenge is easy,
Hatred is easy, but choosing peace after deep suffering, that requires greatness. Today, Nelson Mandela is remembered not just as a president, but as a moral giant, a man who gave his youth for justice, a man who gave his pain for peace, a man who turned suffering into freedom for millions. So, when life feels unfair, when people doubt you, when the road becomes painful, remember his story. Remember that patience can be powerful. Remember that dignity can survive darkness. Remember that your current struggle does not define your final destination. And remember this: a strong person does not only fight for themselves, they fight so others can breathe freely too. That is legacy. That is leadership. That is Nelson Mandela.